George Mason, who truly supports the Bill of Rights and is a libertarian at that level, is certainly somebody worth reading. On the other hand, it's important to remember Mason owns 250 or 300 slaves, and so there's something kind of ironic about him talking about liberty. During the Revolution, the British Tory Samuel Johnson said, "Why is it that we hear the greatest yelps for liberty from the drivers of Negroes?" And that's something that Americans need to think about as well.
Of course, the Bill of Rights is ignored for a century. Court pays no attention. Now, that's the only thing that they care about is the Bill of Rights. But for a century, you don't get court decisions hinging on the Bill of Rights until after the Civil War.
The country became democratic in 1868 and 1870. 1868 with the 14th Amendment, and 1870 when it gave black men the right to vote. And immediately upon the heels of doing that, became undemocratic once those rights were being exercised. And the Supreme Court failed to uphold those rights and support the democracy it claimed it was supposed to be supporting. It failed then until it reached 1965 with the Voting Rights Act. And then once again failed this nation in June of 2013 when Chief Justice John Roberts continued in what he had started over 20 years ago, which was his theory on how to gut the Voting Rights Act. And that's the opinion he wrote in Shelby County versus Holder, the preclearance provision that we now find undermined again the democracy we claim to have in this country.
There is an irony in saying we should worship the Founding Fathers for giving us gun rights and freedom of speech and freedom of liberty and no unlawful search and seizure, because they didn't give us any of that stuff.
Now, Luther Martin demanded a Bill of Rights, but as an opponent of the Constitution, it was sort of a side issue for him almost. He noted that, quote, "Had the government been formed upon principles truly federal, as I wished it, there would have been no need of a Bill of Rights."
Madison, of course, says that a Bill of Rights is a parchment barrier, that it won't do any good. And he's seen that in Virginia over and over again. And if you think about the fact that within 7 years after the passage of the Bill of Rights, we passed the Sedition Act, and then in World War I, President Wilson gets Congress to pass first the Sedition Act and then the Espionage Act, which makes basically free speech illegal if you oppose the war effort in any way. I mean, there's a movie banned during World War I about the American Revolution because it puts our British allies in a bad light. This is absurd. So at one level, Madison is right that it's a parchment barrier. At another level, of course, he later comes to the conclusion that having this on paper is a good thing because it gives us something to try to achieve.